Hey Queefies, welcome back to today's YouTube video. I know. Okay, it has been well over I want to say year and a half since I have last posted on the YouTube channel. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Sam Cook, also known as Merpy. It's a new thing I'm trying out. And I wanted to make today's video about my journey going to rehab. Yeah, my journey from where I last was to where I currently am. I'm weirdly anxious to be making this video, and I think the reason why is because it's very vulnerable. It's a very vulnerable topic, and I'm coming out with a podcast soon on this channel. I didn't really want to wait to talk about all of this for my podcast because I want my podcast to be light. I want it to be something that is enjoyable and entertaining, and yes, we'll talk about hard topics and things that I think would be really helpful for people, but I wanted to get really personal, just one-on-one with you guys, the viewers, and myself for today because I haven't posted in so long. I feel like I need to reintroduce myself to you guys because there's been so many changes in my life in the past year, and I don't think it would be fair to you to just kind of upload a video and not go over everything because the last time I posted, I was bald, I had no eyebrows, I was clearly on drugs, and the video I think might still be up, but I just really think I owe it to you guys to go over everything in detail because I feel like if I just came out with a podcast episode, it would almost feel like there's a chapter missing. I guess go over everything with you guys because it's been a long time. I'm 23 years old now, and I have been sober off of Adderall for over a year. My sobriety date is May 9th, 2021. It's been a while, and I didn't feel comfortable making a video until I really felt like I was in a secure place in my life to make a video like this, because obviously if I made it prematurely, who knows, I might have relapsed, I might have not been able to keep up with the the message, so to speak, the thing I want to preach to people now. So I wanted to make sure I was in a very good mental headspace before I jumped right into it. I guess I'll just explain kind of what led up to me deciding to go to rehab. April of 2021 was genuinely the hardest month of my life. It was, for all intents and purposes, one of the most challenging and mentally draining, and I know this is a YouTuber, it's a favorite phrase amongst the canceled YouTuber community, but I was in a very extremely dark place, and I don't say that lightly. I was in a toxic relationship, I was unemployed, I was not living at home, and I was really numbing myself with a lot of different substances. For those of you who may not be aware, I am an alcoholic. I struggled with Adderall addiction since the time I was 16. I struggled with an eating disorder, and I struggled with really bad negative self-image, and I also have dealt with a lot of complex trauma, both from my childhood and obviously as an adult. With that being said, April was kind of the rock bottom, so to speak. What had happened was, is I had been smoking copious amounts of marijuana, and my relationship with weed has always varied. Sometimes I go through phases in my life where I really enjoy smoking, and then usually it ends in a giant panic attack, and then I have to put the weed down for a couple months, and then I pick it back up and try again. And this last phase of my weed journey, so to speak, I was smoking almost every single day. And it was the first time in my life that I really enjoyed it, and I really kind of understood why people loved it so much. But obviously, I have a very addictive personality, and I was smoking way too much. I was doing it so frequently that I wasn't getting anything done. And you also have to remember that I was also taking Adderall every single day, almost every hour. I was nibbling on my pills. That was my method of, that was how I chose to use it, was I would nibble on my pills. I was still drinking. And the weed mixed with the Adderall, mixed with the drinking, kind of broke me. And when I say that, I'm not just saying that to be like, man, like I was having mental breakdowns almost every single day. And in April, specifically, I think April 6th, I had a lot of sexual trauma resurface, trigger warning. And this sexual trauma was something that I was not prepared to deal with. I had no coping skills to understand what was going on, and I was broken. I was really at a rock bottom for myself. Me and my boyfriend had broke up. I moved back home, and May 6th or 7th, I ended up having a really severe trauma flashback that kind of left me in a extreme dissociative state where I was hallucinating, and I knew at that point enough had been enough. I didn't know where to start. I was so terrified, so unbelievably terrified to get help, but I didn't really have a choice at that point. And the first thing I knew I probably needed to address was getting off of drugs. I wanted to go to a psych ward, okay? Like, I really wanted to check myself into a psych ward, but I knew that I couldn't go to a psych ward because I wouldn't have access to my drugs. So I knew that that was a sign that I probably needed, treatment for drug addiction first before I could even consider any other mental health intervention. So essentially, I made the decision for myself to go to rehab. And that in itself was extremely terrifying. I had never been anywhere. I'd never been hospitalized. I'd never been to a psych ward. I'd never been to rehab. I'd never done anything like that. And so it was the first time I was basically doing something all on my own, away from home. I didn't have my parents. I didn't have my family. I didn't have any of my friends. I know this is a given, but this is how I was thinking at that time, obviously. Like, these were all the things that were basically keeping me from wanting to get help. But I pushed through all those fears, and I went to rehab. I had to Uber myself there. My parents did not drop me off. I did not have any support network like that. So I basically had to hop in an Uber, head an hour away, check myself into rehab, and I stuck it out. I stuck out the 30 days, and it was really life-changing, genuinely. When I entered there, I was so suicidal. I was so mentally unwell. I had, trigger warning, self-harm cuts all over my arms. They weren't healed. They were very fresh. And I had just never felt worse about myself until I went into rehab. While I was in rehab, obviously I went through withdrawals for the first several days, but I had been through withdrawals before, so that wasn't new to me necessarily, but it was definitely... The way to explain it to people is when you're in rehab, every day in there goes by so slow that it is one of the most challenging things to stick out. It really is. And I know that in hindsight, it's kind of the easiest part of your journey is just basically you're getting it's not free, but you're getting a vacation essentially. You're going to summer camp and all you have to do is just sit there. Okay, you don't have to do anything else. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to participate. You literally are just somewhere else without drugs. But that's the hardest part, is you don't have drugs. And I essentially had to fight every single day to keep myself there. But I did it. And when I got out, it was the first time I had ever really accomplished something, like stuck to a goal and succeeded. When I got out, I immediately did partial hospitalization, which is essentially where you go to a location for me, it was about 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And it's basically a way to kind of fill up your time. So instead of just going straight from rehab back to home, you at least have something in between that helps you kind of transition out of rehab. And I would recommend that to any person that is in that same position, just because I didn't choose to live in sober living, a halfway house. I decided to move back home, but I still did the partial hospitalization because... oh boy, the second I was home, everything triggered me. Everything made me want to go get re-prescribed Adderall, start drinking again, start smoking weed, and take oxys, hydrocodone. I was down to do anything, essentially. So it was really nice having that safety net and support network with partial hospitalization. And then I did IOP after 30 days of partial hospitalization, and... after that, yeah, I've been over a year sober from Adderall. But I will say I started drinking again. But the thing is with my relationship with alcohol is I felt like well, you took away Adderall from me. I still need something. I still need some semblance of normalcy from my old life. So I feel like that's why I relapsed and started drinking again. But as of today, as I make this video, I'm 3 weeks sober from alcohol, and it's because I found something called the Sinclair method, which is essentially taking 50 milligrams of naltrexone once a day or every day you choose to drink. And essentially what happens is you take this pill and you drink, and it blocks the endorphin rush you receive from drinking. So over time, your brain stops associating alcohol with pleasure, and yeah, it's worked so far. I might drink in the future, but I have these pills that essentially help prevent me from over consuming. Basically, I'm at the point where my relationship with alcohol is slowly becoming more and more like a social drinker or someone that doesn't have a problem with drinking. I really implore all of you, if you have alcohol issues, to look up the Sinclair method, because it's definitely a huge game changer. It's getting more and more popular, but there's a lot of people that don't know about it. So I would highly recommend looking up the Sinclair method. There's TED Talks about it. There's all these YouTube channels that are dedicated to it. And that's basically what I've done, is just watch these videos. In terms of my eating disorder, I have an appointment with a dietitian on Tuesday, August 30th. And I have found that I was able to lose over 60 pounds just by actually exercising, and I no longer needed Adderall to help me lose weight, because that was basically the reason I wanted it in the first place, was to help me lose weight, and then along the way I got addicted to it. So the relationship with exercise is a brand new thing for me, but I've stuck to it, and I actually really love exercise. I know, the people were right. It's really awful, but I promise it actually works. In terms of therapy, specifically for my trauma and my PTSD, I have been seeing a therapist since September, I want to say, and she has helped me so much with so many different things. And there was a point in time, a few months into my sobriety, that I could not leave the house. I was agoraphobic. I hope that's the word for it. Yeah, I think that's the word. Okay. So, yeah, and I couldn't even leave the house at some point. So I'm not saying that sobriety is easy by any means. I actually think it is harder than being on drugs. But that is something that I take on now as a challenge that I would love to overcome, because I know that it was the inevitable that at some point I would get sober. I knew that at some point I would have to stop, and it just so happened to happen when I was 22 years old. I literally spent my 22nd birthday in rehab. So to put that into perspective, I was not even... I was in rehab before I was 22 years old, which means I had only been 21 for less than a year before I had checked myself into a rehab facility, which is just very on brand for myself. In terms of being unemployed and having not been in school, this past year, completely sober, I was able to not only graduate with my associate's degree, I have held down a full-time job for the past year. I drunk drove and crashed my car 3 years ago into a concrete median next to a Chick-fil-A. Very homophobic of them, I will say. But as of today, I was able to buy myself a car a few months ago. And to circle back to the drunk driving part, after that happened, I knew that I should never drive again until I knew 100% that I would be responsible. And I do not condone it. I was about 19 when that happened, though, and I'm 23 years old now. So please don't cancel me. But I do feel awful, okay? I know I should not have been drinking and driving. But it's the things we do when we're addicted, you know? And at that point in time, I just had I was just so immature, and I think I had a lot of arrested development. I think I was really stuck as a 15-year-old mentally, and that's the biggest change I've seen in myself this past year, is I feel like I have really grown up. I feel like I've totally become an adult. I've become so disciplined, and anything that I want, I've been able to accomplish for myself this past year. And with all that being said, as much as I have spent so much time this past year being an adult, I've really missed the thing that I love most, and that is my YouTube channel. I love posting videos. It's something I've done since I was 16. Before I was even on drugs, I was posting on YouTube. And it's something that I 100% want to get back into doing. And I wanted to make this video just to kind of let everybody know this is where I've been, and I'm so much better now. I am so much better now, mentally, physically, spiritually. I do yoga, I play video games. I have so many hobbies and self-care rituals and things that I do to take care of myself that was completely missing from my life. I'm just in such a better place mentally, and I feel like it's time to start posting on YouTube, which is why, with all that being said, I am starting a podcast. And I would love to know what you guys would like to see from me in terms of that podcast. I feel like I have so many thoughts and opinions and funny stories, and I would love to have a long form platform to speak. I love hearing myself talk. Not really, but I do it anyway. So, yeah, you guys, I am back. And I would love to honestly dedicate some episodes to talking about mental health, go into more specifics about things that have worked for me, things that didn't, and just give more advice to people. So the podcast is going to kind of encompass everything about my life, and I feel like it's going to hopefully capture the essence of a FaceTime conversation that I would have with one of my friends, So with all that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And follow me on my other social media. I've been chugging away on TikTok for a while now. So if you want to follow me on there, it's also I'm Sam Cook. I did change this channel name to Merpy, but that is because I just feel like my name is so common that it's really hard to find me when you Google me. So that is the name change and why that's occurred. With all that being said, I love you guys so much. I probably forgot so much to include in this, but that is why you have to tune into the podcast. And don't hold me to when I'm going to be posting my first episode. I'm still working out the technical aspect of everything, but I am going to keep you guys posted on all of that. So make sure you follow me on Instagram, because that's usually where I will post things on my story to let you know what's going on. And then Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter. And then, TikTok. Those are the 3 other ones I have at the moment. So follow me on there for now, and then I will hopefully be posting my podcast episodes soon. And with all that being said, thank you guys for staying tuned to the end, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, week, month, and possibly life. Deuces.